I never really believed that everyone fit into a box to succeed in a specific field.
Well, yeah.
So I think this is one of those cases where, you know, as long as you are the truest version of yourself and you are educated and you are proactive and you put the client first, that you're going to do well.
What is up, guys? My name's Colin.
John?
I'm Anthony Cepin.
Yeah, it was so pleasure to have Anthony here today we have an interview with you. So, Anthony, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I am a real estate agent and a loan officer.
Okay.
I moved here from New York, specifically Westchester, about 6 months ago. And in that time, I've met a lot of great people. I've gotten my loan officer license. So, you know, considering my business as a whole, I'm a realtor first, right? Well, not first, but, you know, I do real estate.
Yeah.
I have a team in New York and a couple other states that kind of handle the transactions. And then I'm here in Texas doing the loan officer stuff, building a network and kind of understanding how that flows. And the purpose of that is really to kind of create kind of like a one-stop shop for all of my clients, right? And then, you know, having the ability to, if not know everything, know enough about something that I can like lead them in the right direction. So,
Right.
you know, I feel like every day is a learning experience, and the more I learn, the better I can serve my community.
Nice. So, what's the market in New York?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, it really depends on what you talk about because
Yeah.
everyone associates New York City with New York State.
Right.
But, you know, geographically speaking, it's only 2% of the land mass, even though 97% of the population lives there. So, New York City, it's always going to be crazy, right? Like, New York City is one of those international cities, like Paris and Tokyo, everyone knows New York City. You know, and I live in Westchester, which is the suburbs right above it. So, if you think about it, we're maybe like 20, 25 minutes away from the city. So, the market is always going to be dictated by what happens in New York City specifically, because everyone that, you know, kind of like has their life centered around the city is going to live up in Westchester. So with that being said, it's pretty much still a seller's market. And what I mean by that, you know, in case anyone was curious is, you know, on a supply and demand scale, the demand is a lot higher than the supply. So when you have fewer houses on the market that are available and more people want to buy them, then you're kind of creating a bidding war, and people are going to,
Yeah.
you know, overpay in a sense for, you know, for a singular house.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's kind of been like that for a while. Definitely picked up during the pandemic. New York City specifically took a hit because a lot of the pandemic had to do with you know, space and occupancy, right? So, you know, when COVID and everything shut down, you're stuck in like this, you know, 600 square foot apartment. I mean, you can't imagine that being from Texas, but, you know, that's how small those apartments are. So everyone was like, you know what? I prefer being outdoors and I would rather have more space. So, you know, moving up there kind of, you know, kind of accelerated the process. So when I got there in 2001, my parents bought a house for like maybe like $200,000. But now the average price of a house in that area was running like you know, like $800,000.
Wow.
So it's still pretty busy. A lot of people are still wanting to move up there
Yeah.
because of the proximity to the city, because of the ability to have,
Right.
you know, space and land. Nothing like here in Texas, because, you know, you're gonna get a lot here.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a spectrum, right? So you have New York City, and then you have Texas, and Westchester's like somewhere in the middle in regards to like land and the ability to have that for yourself.
So you see more leasing in New York, or is like more people is getting like to buying the real estate like houses in New York right now?
I think it'll depend on where everyone is, you know, personally in their lives. People that are born and raised in New York, a lot of them just end up renting because, you know, they don't conceptualize the idea of owning, right? And how, you know, paying 40 years of rent is, you know, equivalent to paying someone's entire mortgage off, in a sense. But I think at the end of the day, more people are going to end up purchasing just because, you know, especially if you're considering like the Westchester market in particular, right? You know, it's still significantly cheaper than New York City. So let's say you guys wanted to move there and your budget was $1 million, right? Because that's what your budget needs to be moving into New
Yeah.
York City. And then you get discouraged because you realize, you get this living room, as your entire apartment
Small box, that's it.
for $1 million.
Yeah.
Right. And that's only in some cases, it's not everywhere. But then you're like, what if I spent that million up in Westchester? You can get a pretty decent house. So, I think, again, it depends on everyone's situation. Living up in Westchester, you're definitely more, going to be a higher chance that you purchase something. New York City, rental. Plus, a lot of people end up moving to New York City because of what they see in like the movies and the TVs, and you know what I mean. Like as I've met people here in Texas, a lot of them have told me, "Oh, I've never been to New York City," and I've only been around people that have only ever lived in New York City. So hearing those two kind of different point of views, I always thought was interesting. And then whenever you're moving to a new area, you never really know like what the area is like. So would you want to purchase without knowing what you're getting yourself into?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
if you're getting constantly people moving in every year, then you can expect them to rent for at least a year or two before either deciding to stay, rent again, or buy something in the nearby area.
Yeah. So how many years you'll be in the real estate industry?
Yeah, so I mean, if you think about it, I've been in real estate since 2003,
2003.
but I've been licensed since 2017. So let me explain myself. I've always been around real estate because my mom is a real estate broker. And
Oh.
she got her license in 2003.
Okay.
So I was born in 92. That would have made me 11 years old. As an 11-year-old kid, I'm not thinking about real estate, right? I'm thinking about my favorite sports teams,
Yeah.
how to get more pizza, you know what I mean? Like whatever 11-year-old's thinking about at that time.
Yeah.
But I had always been around it and, just kind of paying attention and hearing the different lingos, she's like, oh, I got to go show a house real quick. So I'm just sitting in the car playing with my Game Boy, like not even thinking twice of it. So then, you grow up, go through life, went through college, did some traveling, came back home. And, this was around 2017. My mom was like, oh, why don't you get your real estate license? And I said, it couldn't hurt, right? Because, best case scenario, right? I get the license. I make a lot of money. I do really well. I learn a lot. Worst case scenario, I don't like it, but at least I understand the home buying process,
Right.
which is something that everyone will or most likely end up going through, at least a couple times in their life, if not more. So, and then when I got in, it just seemed natural. Because again, right, going back to 2003, not really understanding how much I was picking up. So the lingo that's being used, accepted offer, highest and best, right? What is a showing, right? What is a contract, right? Like this is all information that was embedded into, the deepest parts of my memory. And then just being able to pull it out like that, I was like, oh, okay, this isn't too bad. So then, I've been a realtor since 2017, and I've been a loan officer for about 3 months now. So, and I intend to keep it up going, right? I feel like there's always, there's such a complex industry that there's always things you could be learning. There's always things, certifications and titles you could continue to pick up.
Right.
Right. Maybe I get into commercial, right? Maybe I do some title work, right? It all depends on, where life ends up leading me. But, I like the path that I've taken so far and, kind of where it's heading.
Nice. So for those years of experience in the real estate industry, what do you think about the market change?
I think market change is inevitable. I feel like, nothing can really, affect it or alter it. Things just have to happen organically, right? Take, 2020 as an example, right? No one really knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like who can predict, something of that global scale? But it happened, right? And we saw the effects in different industries, right? Real estate specifically, you saw people starting to reconsider what they were currently doing with their assets, right? People, more concerned about writing wills, right? People, some people were thinking about taking advantage of the low interest rates, right? They were historically low, 2-3%, right? Like that's, I can't think of any time in history when it was that low.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was told that people purchasing a couple of decades before were paying 8 to 10%. Right. So even the way it is now, I don't think it's too bad. But again, 2 to 3%, like, come on now, right? That's crazy. And then again, right, the third thing is people thinking about leaving, right? A lot of people live in New York City, a lot of people move to Texas, they move to Florida, Arizona, Boise, Idaho, right? Like places that you would never consider, right? Something that kind of, in a sense, halts, the world. That's almost seems like a perfect time and space for reflection. So through reflection, that's when you saw a mass shift along with the low interest rates and certain things being shut down. So leading back to your question, right? What I think about market change, I think it's inevitable. I think people that don't pay attention or don't adjust are going to be stuck in the past.
Right.
And I also want people to realize that it's a cycle,
Yeah.
right? Kind of
Yeah.
like whatever comes up must come down, right? So everyone was rushing to buy a house, but you just end up feeding into the market to be as high as it is for it to fall, as much lower as it's going to, or, who really knows what's going to happen? I'm not a fortune teller, but,
Yeah.
again, like everything's a cycle. So
Yeah.
what goes up must come down, and what goes up, what goes down is going to eventually come back up. So, understanding that, I feel like, just gotta pay attention, right? See what's gonna happen, right? Don't make too many like hasty decisions. And as professionals, it's our job to educate people
Yeah.
and to really let them know, this is what we're seeing, right? Not necessarily telling you what you should do, but saying, hey, this kind of happened, back then, and this is what happened when that happened. So kind of, piecing it together and making them make their own educated decision, as opposed to them, not seeking professional help and, either reading, through news or media or, some other source, right, that, may not have given them all the facts or, may not have considered their situation, right, because everyone's situation is different, right? Whatever I tell you, it worked for you, it may not work for him, it may not work for that table, it all depends.
Yeah. So, as a loan officer, what's your suggestion for the people that are trying to get into the loan, industry? Like, what's your suggestion?
You mean in regards to purchasing or like anyone that wants to get into the
Yeah,
industry?
anyone that wanna get into the industry.
Oh, no, that's a good question. I mean, I've only had my license for 3 months, but again, like being licensed 2017, being around 2003, like you pay attention to things. I think, it's a very good career choice as a loan officer. I feel like, you don't, I never really believed that everyone fit into a box to succeed in a specific field.
But yeah.
So I think this is one of those cases where, as long as you are the truest version of yourself and you are educated and you are proactive and you put the client first, that you're going to do well. And, again, understanding that, markets fluctuate. Like as crazy as, the real estate market fluctuates, you have no idea how often rates change. Maybe, once a day up to 4 times a day, right? So, understanding that and just, kind of taking a step back and, just kind of seeing everything from a bird's eye perspective. I feel like, that'll help a lot of people, when they're in the industry, kind of, gauging and understanding how things work. And, we can't control everything, right? At the end of the day, we can only, accept and work with what's given to us. So, taking that accordingly and, pushing that forward is what is going to help out.
So, Anthony, you're a loan officer. Do you do residential only or commercial as well?
Yeah, so I mean, the focus has been residential, right? The empowerment of communities to obtain home ownership. That's always been like a passion of mine, right? Going back to the earliest times, right? Obtaining land was one of, if not the main way to acquire wealth, right? Medieval times only, lords and ladies could own land. Fast forward again, you could only own land if you can read and write. So, it's becoming more obtainable, more accessible. And I want to let people know that the process, as complex as it is not impossible. And with the right support around you, you can get there. So mainly residential, but the company I'm with now, Neighborhood Loans, right? They're a brokerage. So what that means is they have access to a multitude of different products, different loan products. So, we are kind of delving into the commercial space. So, if you ever want to get a deal done, right, we could talk about
Of
how to
course.
make that happen. But again, right, like I'm still learning, right? We're always evolving, always figuring things out. So, as of right now, the main focus is residential, right? We do have commercial, opportunities. Um, but eventually, like, I just want to be able to do it all, right? Like, to really tell someone, like, tell me your full story, and I will really let you know if I can help you or not. And if I can't help you, then I'm gonna send you to someone that can help you, because there's always a way to get things done.
Perfect. Yeah. Anything you want to
Yeah,
ask Anthony?
yeah, I do actually. So, being that you're so multifaceted, there's just so many things you know. Do you think your experience being in real estate really helped you serve your clients better now as a loan officer?
Absolutely. I think, you can't discredit anything that you've done, as a person, right? That's the first thing I tell people is, especially young realtors that are trying to like get a foothold in the industry, don't forget who you were before this, right? Where you worked, what communities you were part of, where did you go to school, right? Like leveraging your network to further your net worth.
Yeah.
And that's just another example of that, right? It would be foolish to discount 5 years of real estate experience, to incorporate that into, the loan officer, position that I'm currently in. And then also another thing too is, when you've been on one side, you really understand how they think and what they expect and what they look for. So, I definitely want to utilize that experience to kind of say, all right, well, when I was a realtor, this is what I wanted from my loan officer. This is what I felt like they were lacking, and how can I tie it all together? So, definitely, I'm a lot further, than I am now, as opposed to if I didn't have, that prior real estate experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Do you ever plan on getting back into the realtor side of business in Texas?
That's a good question. Everyone keeps asking me that. I feel like, I don't see why not, right? There's nothing wrong with having the license, doing some deals here. I definitely want to start building a team, right? A group of individuals that, kind of support each other and kind of, work towards that, the same goal that we're all trying to get towards. So to answer your question, yeah, I don't see why not.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And team building is that the next thing? Have a great team in both New York and Texas?
I think that's got to be the goal, right? Scalability, not necessarily passive income, but I always understood a business is success is if I were to step away for a week, how well can this business succeed?
Yeah.
If I were to step away for a month, a year,
Yeah.
right? How well can it continue to move forward? So, obviously I'm nowhere near that stage, but, through continual learning and networking and, having conversations like this, right? Appreciate you guys having me on,
Of course.
kind of spreading the knowledge and seeing, all right, well, this person likes what I'm doing. They have a similar goal. Where can we collaborate? And,
Exactly.
where can things come together to, further us as a group?
Yeah.
Because, no one really ever does it by themselves.
No.
Right? You'll hear the self-made man, but, even a real estate transaction, right? You have another agent, there's a lender there, you're working with title, right?
So many parties.
You need the support of those people, of those competent, professionals to allow yourself to, to reach that next level.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I feel like people always say, this one person is incredible. Maybe they are. Like, let's not discredit that.
Yeah.
But they probably had a mentor. They probably have a support team. Nobody does it by themselves.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, that sounds freaking awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
Man.
we're gonna see you like
Yeah.
a year from now. You're gonna have a big team. You're gonna do crazy deals.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Let's do it, bro.
Yeah, I think, especially real estate industry, it just is all about leverage with each other, collaborate with each other so we can like grow together, make everything happen.
Yeah, of course,
So if y'all are interested in joining the journey of an awesome man, reach out to Anthony. He's probably has space for you.
absolutely. So I guess now's the plug time,
Now's the plug
where I
time.
tell people how they can contact
Yeah.
me.
So how can they contact you? Where you work? You know exactly what can you help them with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a realtor with eXp Realty Residential. My license is in New York, but I have a team that spans 10 states, and the company is itself, it's in 50 states and about 20 countries. So really any real estate need you have, we can either help you directly or connect you with someone that can. Right, I have referrals in different states. I have a referral going out in Puerto Rico, right, for a friend of mine that's, kind of needing help with that process. So, connecting is my big thing. On the loan officer end, I'm with Neighborhood Loans. We have an office in Grand Prairie, Texas, and my license is for the state of Texas. So whether you're in Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, that's kind of where we can help. And then, of course, another company, right? I found it was important to be connected with a team that, was not just in one area, but in multiple states. So that's another company. It's another 40 states. So pretty much, my goal is if you just wanted to have a regular conversation about real estate, just hit me up, right? We can talk. I can kind of gauge where you are and just kind of let you know what the next steps could be, whether it'll be me or with someone else. But, I'm open to conversation. So realtor, loan officer, you can find me on Instagram.
There you go.
My handle is Anthony S. Cepin, Cepin. So first name, middle initial, and then last name. You can find me on there. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. It's kind of tapping into that. So whenever you're ready to have a conversation, let me know.
Oof.
Perfect,
This is
brother.
good conversation, man.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Yeah,
Thank
no, it
you,
was
thank
Oh
cool.
my
you.
gosh.
Yeah.
I'll come back anytime.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Y'all got it. Y'all got his info. What's the best way to reach you, would you say?
Yeah, by phone. Call me, text me.
Call him.
Yeah.
There you go.
Instagram. I respond to all my DMs.
All right. Awesome.